Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Anton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be looking at some of the new cards that have been spoiled today for the upcoming set, Awakening. Kind of a variety day today. No new mechanics, no new champion. Just a lot of, like, stuff, really. Even though it's not like there's nothing new, no new champ, no new keywords, just cards. I will say this. First off, new Darkin, that's pretty cool. But there is one card here that I really like, and I've been a little hype about. I've had this happen before though, where I've seen a card I really like, and it turns out to be really garbage. Whimsy is the card that comes to my mind. But yeah, like a couple of cards. I think it's like Freljord and Shadow Isles pretty much today, but there's a lot to talk about. So let's go and talk about these cards. Why not? So, only Freljord and Shadow Isles cards, it seems. As I said, new Darkin, some spells, equipment, and a unit. So I like them. It's like not much to analyze here. In all honesty, it probably won't be too long of a video because we don't really have a new mechanic. Like with Jax, we could talk about Jax and theory craft Jax, but just some equipment for other regions and some cool stuff. Bone Club. I don't understand it. 5 mana +4/+4 equipment. Like, okay. No keyword, and it's really expensive. I'm not really understanding the point of this equipment. Why would I want to play this card? My only, like, as it stands now, even with all the cards we've seen, I would never, ever play this card in any single deck. This card is absolute garbage. Maybe, and the only reason I can seeing some play is maybe Ornn really does a lot with equipment, and like maybe you want enough equipment in your deck and your secondary region doesn't have enough equipment, so you need to play Bone Club, but that's not even a good thing. Like, I feel like that's a playing bad card to get good effect kind of thing, if Ornn does something like that. But yeah, even then, I'd rather just play almost anything else. I mean, it is a lot of stats. I will give you that. It is a lot of stats. 4/4 is a solid amount of stats. I believe if we go down a little bit, we have an equipment as well already revealed that gives 4/4 stats for 3 mana. Granted, it's from a landmark. Yeah. Buried Armory gives you Treasure of the Sands, 3 mana, +4/+4. You might say like, well, yeah, sure, but first off, different regions, and you have to wait a few turns after playing Buried Armory. Yes, of course, but I don't know. I just don't understand why you would play Bone Club. It's not like Freljord's known for elusives. Like, I guess you could say you can put it on Overwhelm units. I'd rather play Battle Fury. Battle Fury gives me more stats, and its burst speed. Sure, it's more expensive, but Battle Fury is just better. So really, I just see the only way I see this getting played, like actually being put in a deck, is, what's it called? If you really just really care about equipment. Maybe there will be like an Ornn card that generates equipment, maybe like a 2 mana 2/1 when you play it, manifest an equipment, something like that. You know, like a Pharaoh's Financier Conchologist style card. And then, you know, this is a pretty solid choice then, because it is, again, it is a lot of stats. 4/4 is a lot of stats, but 5 mana is a lot of mana. Our next card, Gift of the Hearth Blood. 5 mana burst speed spell. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit better here. Burst speed's cool. Heal your Nexus for 4. That's a lot of health. Grant all allies and equipment in your deck +1/+1. Draw one of them. Okay. So there's a couple of cards we can compare this to. Basically, Star Shaping and Avaros and Hearthguard. Star Shaping because, you know, it heals you and the exact amount that Star Shaping does. Actually, no. Star Shaping heals for 5 now. Right, they buffed that recently, but whatever. But yeah, it's like Star Shaping heals you and it gives you a win con. This heals you and I wouldn't say it gives you a win con, but it kind of gives you a win con. It's just much, much slower than just like a I don't know, I can't even remember. Great Beyond? Yeah, that's the card's name. I just wish this card could heal anything. The fact that it only heals Nexus kind of sucks, but I feel like they probably tested it being able to heal anything. It was probably too good. Also, comparing this to Avaros and Hearthguard, it is kind of like Avaros and Hearthguard. The problem is you're not getting a 5/6, and I feel like the 5/6 from Hearthguard is a big part of Hearthguard because, you know, you get synergy with other 5+ attack things that care, like Trifarian Assessor. Granted, it does buff your equipment too, so maybe it sees play as a 1-of or a 2-of. Freljord already kind of has healing too. If Freljord's healing wasn't that solid, I would see this seeing some play, but Kindly Tavern Keeper is a solid card. It fills out your 3-drop slot. It's a solid stat line. It can heal your Nexus or your units. So yeah, Tavern Keeper kind of is the healing spot of most Freljord decks. And of course, on top of that, you can argue like, oh, there's also Catalyst of Eons. I think that's the card's name, the 5-mana ramp spell. And what's the card's name? Blighted Ravine, that's it. So yeah, purely from a healing standpoint, I'm not a fan of it, but it's got a lot of text on it. It does draw a card, so it auto replaces itself. It cycles. So I can honestly see this thing play as a 1-of or a 2-of in some decks. Definitely not Feel the Rush decks. Like, that's the problem. This is definitely meant for a slower Freljord deck, which at the moment is kind of just Feel the Rush, and Feel the Rush doesn't want this. So what else is there? I don't think a Nivea would play this. Really, it does, like, the line of equipment getting the +1/+1 really makes it feel like it's supposed to be Ornn support, and it's kind of hard to judge because we don't know what Ornn's going to do. So maybe this could be a 3-of with Ornn. It does heal a lot, so that healing does keep you from dying right away, because you are, you know, spending 5 minutes to basically do nothing to the board. I guess it does buff your allies on board. You can also, it says grant all allies, so I assume that means it should buff allies on board and the equipment on board too. So you can use it as like a really janky combat trick too, so that's kind of cute. So yeah, I don't think it's that good of a card, but I think it's a solid playable card. The biggest problem I see with this card is just finding a home. I don't think Overwhelm would play it. Maybe Yetis, if Yetis ever see playability in the future. But yeah, I feel like most slower Freljord decks, which this deck wants to be in a slower Freljord deck, I feel, don't really like this style of effect. They'd really just want a survivability and ramp. Our next card, though. I don't know about this card. 2-mana 2/2, Cultist. Keeper of the Box. It has Fearsome, so you can put it in your Kane decks because it is a Cultist. I have no idea what's going on in this full art, by the way. Is Kane okay? Once you've equipped an ally this game, grant me lifesteal. So I assume this means if you play it after you've equipped an ally, it has lifesteal already? With the way it's worded? We've had cards like this before, worded similarly to this, so I assume it will work like that. So let's assume this is active after you play. Let's assume this works like that. You know, it has lifesteal if you played a equipment on an ally before you played this card. Basically, you play like Jax on turn 2 and then Keeper on 3. A 2-mana 2/2 Fearsome with lifesteal. That sucks. Like, I'm sorry. That kind of is really mediocre. I don't know, like, I know they're afraid of lifesteal. I know they don't like games to last too long. Like, they've come out and said that multiple times. They don't want games to last too long, and lifesteal makes games last long. But honestly, I just don't understand the point of this card. Maybe if you really, really, really need a 2-drop in a Kane deck, like, is there a Cultist 2-drop? I feel like, because our early game in Cultist decks are going to be, what, Forsaken Bakai. Like, that card's great. So I guess there isn't really a 2-drop Cultist So if you really want a 2-drop, you could play this if your secondary region doesn't have a 2-drop. Pretty much every region, though, by now has a solid 2-drop, though, and Keeper of the Box is not a solid 2-drop. 2-2 with Fearsome Lifesteal. I guess you could also argue, well, you could equip it. Yeah, you could also equip literally any other unit, too, and it can be good, but cheap lifesteal plus equipment is kind of nice. The other problem is it is Shadow Isles. Shadow Isles does heal well already. Honestly, if this was in Target, I'd be a little more ecstatic and happy about this, but as it stands, I'm like, whatever. I'd rather just play, like, Withering Wail. And, you know, minions, fading icons as my 2-drops instead. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe, like, the only way I see this seeing play is if you're playing a Kane deck and the other region you're using with your Kane deck just doesn't have a really good 2-drop that you want. Or if we get another card in the future that says, like, if you I don't know, like, have enough cultists in your deck, do the thing. Basically cultist synergy. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this, but, like, I guess, like, maybe, like, yeah, equipped some spell that says, like, equipped at burst speed a equipment to a cultist of yours. That seems kind of cool. But yeah, 2-2 for 2 is kind of mediocre. Like, you can get 1 mana 2/2s. And Fearsome and Lifesteal is not really worth an extra mana for me. Now our Darkin friend. First off, the weapon form of this new Darkin, the Darkin Halberd. 1 mana 2/2 equipment. To play me, kill an ally. You may spend 10 mana to play me as Terosh. That's a lot of mana. So what's a weapon actually do? I feel like a lot of these transformation equipment, these Darkin equipment, really, really hinge on how good the equipment is. So it's a way to kill your units without your opponent being able to react to it, which is kind of solid, you know, being able to kill things without your opponent being able to be like, oh, well, I don't want you to kill it, I want to kill it. Basically being able to slay your own units and not have a priority window open for your opponent is pretty good. We've seen it before. Ravenous Butcher, I think, is the name of the 0 mana 3/2. Spirit Leech, they're pretty solid cards. And instead of getting like a 0 mana 3/2 or some draw in a 4/1 from Spirit Leech, you're getting +2/+2 to a unit on the field. I don't know, I kind of like it. You can also, here's the other thing I'm already thinking about with this. Equipment can use spell mana. I keep forgetting that until I actually start looking at equipment and theory crafting. 1 mana is not a lot of mana when it comes to spell mana. You know who really likes this card? Kindred. You have like a minion or a prey from a fading icon on the field. You play this card. First off, you play Kindred and have Kindred on the field, and you have like 1 spell mana up. You play this card killing the prey or the minion, and then you buff Kindred. You got a Kindred mark on an enemy unit, and now your Kindred is a 6/5. That sounds pretty good. Also, Thrash, Nasus, Viego. I'm a big fan of this card. I really like this card as just an equipment. Like, that's the thing. I haven't even talked about Terosh. I'm just talking about the equipment. As an equipment alone, because it comes back to your hand, I like this card a lot. This card seems really good, really strong. You can even argue, like, what about even, like, Evelyn decks, like Evelyn Shadow Isles, Evelyn Viego with all the husks? Yeah, go for it. Some people are even playing Undyings in their Shadow Isles Slay decks, too, so you even have that for more, you know, things that just want to die. So I'm a big fan of this card. I think this card is really strong. And we haven't even talked about Terosh. Just as it stands, the Darkin Halberd by itself, I think, is a solid, powerful card. Not OP. I don't think it's OP. I think it's just a solid, strong card. +2/+2 is a good stat line for 1 mana as well. And being able to use spell mana is really nice. And of course, Shadow Isles does like a lot of self-sacrifice, killing your own ally stuff. So let's talk about Terosh, though. So Terosh, on the other hand, Terosh, however you pronounce this card, I actually don't know. I'm gonna have to wait for this in-game sound bites to learn how to pronounce this guy. I'm gonna keep saying like Terosh or Terosh. I'm gonna go back and forth. I already know that. I'm not a fan of this. 10 mana 10/10 with Fearsome. It is a Darkin, of course. I don't think we have Darkin synergy yet. Each round, the first time I attack, fill your attackers with revived copies of the strongest followers you have slain this game. It doesn't say allied followers. So, does this mean if I vengeance, like, a Commander Ladros from my opponent, it'll summon Ladros for me, and then, you know, I'll get the Ladros in my hand? I assume it will be looking at my enemy's followers too. Well, I don't like this card because it doesn't do anything. It's a 10 mana 10/10, do nothing when you summon it. It's kind of like Broodfather, the 8 mana Demacia Dragon. I think it's 8 mana. In that it's a card that's expensive and does nothing when you play it, and it can be stopped by things like silences, stuns, vengeance, etc., etc. This is not the real form of the card. I mean, I guess lore-wise it is because it's Darkin, but the real form of the card is Darkin Halberd. You're not playing Terosh because you want to play Terosh. You're playing Terosh because you've made it to the late game, and it's like your last win con, your backup win con. Like, you have no more Viegos, you have no more Kindreds. Maybe you're not playing Ladros, like, or something. And you're just like, okay, my opponent's out of cards and I controlled them really well this game, but I'm also kind of out of cards. Oh, but look, I have the Darkin Halberd in my hand. Let me just spend 10 mana, which can also be used, well, actually, no, I remember. I was going to say spell mana, but if I remember correctly, I think the Riot employees confirmed for these kind of cards, you can't use spell mana when you're transforming them. It has to be regular mana. But that's how I'm looking at this card. You're just going to use the Darkin Halberd in the early and mid game and like early late game to just get some value, slay some stuff, maybe buff up a Kindred or something. And if your opponent's able to answer all of those things, like answer your Kindreds, answer your Viegos, your Threshes, whatever your champions and win cons are, you're like, whatever, I've got Terosh. If Terosh ever gets one attack, I should win. Because he's pretty much a harrowing. Like, you attacking with Terosh and just Terosh, you'll get 5 other attackers. Like, if you're playing Darkin Halberd, is it called Darkin Halberd? Yeah, Darkin Halberd, you should have at least 5 things that were slain by you this game. So yeah, I don't know, it's a solid win con. Like, I really like this card. I don't like Terosh. I think Terosh is kind of weak. But I think the Darkin Halberd is good, and I think Terosh is, well, I would never play a card like Terosh in my deck. Being able to transform my small early game value creator, I guess we'll call Darkin Halberd, into a big win con all on its own is really nice. And while Terosh isn't the greatest win con, it will serve its purpose of winning the game in the late game. I'd say though, most decks that play Darkin Halberd, I'd say maybe only like 1 in every 10 games or so you're gonna actually play Darkin Halberd as Terosh. But I like it. I think it's a good card. I think Darkin Halberd is very strong, very powerful. Shadow Isles is a really strong region, especially right now in the game. Viego's solid. Kindred's decent. Thresh is okay. Evelyn's not really Shadow Isles, but she gets paired with Shadow Isles too. So I like the Darkin Halberd. And our last couple of cards. Malefic Spear. 3 mana +2/+1. Equipment. Also has Fearsome on it. If an ally died this round, I cost 2 less. I'm pretty sure this is Callista's Spear. I mean, it's okay. I don't really think there's much to talk about this card. It's fine. It's like nothing special. Like, a lot of this equipment is just really hard to judge because going back to your hand kind of throws a wrench in the card evaluation. But this card just doesn't do much. Like, stat-wise, it's not a lot of stats. Fearsome's not a terrible keyword, but it's not a great keyword. So yeah, I don't know. Like, what deck wants this is the other thing. I feel like if I'm playing a deck that has a lot of things dying, which this weapon equipment wants you to be doing because of the, if an ally died this round, it costs you less. I'd rather play the Darkin Halberd. I mean, like, this is payoff for your stuff dying, while the Darkin Halberd is enabling a way for your units to die, but I just feel like it's just not good enough. I just can't really think of a deck that wants this. And now, This is the card I am hyped for the most. I'm hyped for Darkin Halberd as well, but Quietus is really cool. 1 mana slow spell. Kill a unit with 2 or less power, or destroy a unit's equipment. I think this card's nuts. I think this is a tier 1 really powerful card. I've seen some people actually saying this card's broken. It needs to be 2 mana. I don't think it's broken. I think it's strong. I also don't think it just goes in every deck. I've seen a lot of people saying, like, why would I not just throw this in every Shadow Wilds control deck? Lots of reasons, and we'll talk about them. Reason number 1, it actually doesn't hit that many things in the meta. And in most metas, in fact, it doesn't hit a lot of things. Reason number 2, even if it does hit something, your opponent might be able to play a spell to get around it, like Pale Cascade, Sharpsight, Shapestone, etc., etc. Like, some good hits. There are good hits, though, of playable meta cards. Action is one. She's not seen as much anymore, but Alawi's another. What I think this card works really well with, though, is Freljord, specifically freezes. So Shadow Wilds Freljord's already pretty much the control region. So I feel like you play, it's kind of like what? Not Avarosan, Arachnoid Sentry, plus Flock. Arachnoid Sentry plus Ravenous Flock. This is not as good as that combo, I will say that now. This is no Flock as well. Slow speed hurts this card a lot. You could argue, well, you can actually try to do your own version of Sentry Flock. Yeah, I know. Iceveil Archer plus Quietus is cute. You play Iceveil Archer, the 2 mana 3/1 that freezes an enemy unit. You play Quietus, hope to kill it. It's kind of nice. It does hit champion, so that's also really, really good. Now, what about the second line attacks, though? I haven't even talked about that. Destroy a unit's equipment. That is honestly, like, the thing about destroying a unit's equipment is it's nice, but it's not the reason you play this card. I feel like destroying a unit's equipment is gonna get play. Like, that part of Quietus will see play, but I feel like most of the time you just want this to, you know, kill a small unit. I like this because, you know what card it reminds me of? It reminds me of Scorched Earth. Scorched Earth, the 3 mana destroy a damaged unit or destroy an enemy landmark. That card's a really good card because it has 2 modes to it, basically, and both modes are good. Quietus has 2 modes as well. First mode, and both modes are solid, not great, but good. Like, versatility is really good in cards, so I really like this card. Works well with freezes too, so Freljord Shadow Wilds. Outside of Freljord Shadow Wilds, though, I'm not a big fan of this card. I don't really think it's that good outside of Shadow Wild or Freljord Shadow Wilds. Solid Conchologist card, I guess, as well. So it's a solid card overall, pretty strong. You just need to have the right deck for it, I would say. Anyway, though, that's gonna be it for all of the new cards today. Actually, video was a little bit longer than I was expecting it to be, but that's because I really like a couple of these cards. Basically, Darkin Halberd and Quietus I really like a lot, so I guess I talked a lot about them. But yeah, I like these cards. I like those cards. The rest of the cards I'm a little iffy about. I like Gift of the Heartblood. Gift of the Heartblood's cool. Bone Club, Malefic Spear, and Keeper of the Box I'm not as excited about. But yeah, that'll probably be it for today's video. I'd love to hear you guys' opinion on these cards. What do you think of them? Do you think they're good? Do you think they're bad? Do you think I'm overrating Quietus and Darkin Halberd? Do you think I'm underrating, like, Malefic Spear, Keeper of the Box? Maybe you have an idea of how to play Bone Club or Gift of the Heartblood. I'd love to hear your opinions and how you guys would build with these decks. And if you guys just enjoyed the video, I'd love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. Always helps me and the channel out. And if you guys want to keep up with Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. Also, if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Senaton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye!